and welcome to my 10-minute map. So, for the 30-day map challenge this year, one of the prompts was the 10-minute map, so make a map within 10 minutes. And another one was to document your process. So, I figured I'd produce my 10-minute map and then record the whole thing and then share that with all of you on YouTube. So, before I get started with the actual 10-minute portion of making the map, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what I'm going to do. And the map that I'm going to make is actually going to be two maps. It's going to be my Who concerts. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of The Who. I've traveled a lot to go see them in many different places, and I've never really made a map out of it. So I think it's high time to change that. So what I've done is I have my list of my Who concerts, and I'm only going to map the ones by the actual band. So none of the solo shows, and in fact there's a lot of solo shows that aren't even on here. So I'm just going to map the ones in green. And as you can see, well, there's a lot in London, obviously. But it's basically either in Northwestern Europe or in North America. I haven't traveled further than that to go see them. And what I've done in order to make most effective use of my 10 minutes is I've georeference them on the city level and save them as two separate GeoJSON files so I can more easily import them. I've done city level because, as you can see, within London, I've seen them in, I think, 4 different venues, 5 if you add one of Roger's solo shows. And so that distinction on the scale that I'm going to be mapping is completely irrelevant. So I've dereferenced it to the city level. And that's what I'm going to do. So in post-production, I'm going to add a little timer somewhere on the screen. And let's get started with my 10 minutes. I'm going to grab my phone and give myself a little timer as well so I know how much time I have left. And so I'm going to hit start right now. So I've got my Illustrator document set up. It's an A4 size piece of paper, and I'm just going to import some data from Natural Earth. And I'm going to pick boundary lines, land, and the countries. And I'm going to crop that to Northwestern Europe. So kind of coarse at the moment. We'll zoom in a little bit. I haven't traveled further than Germany to go see them. So let's stick with this. Okay, import that. And I don't like this unprojected lat long projection, so I'm going to change that. I'm also going to rename the map view. Europe. Where's that bullet there? Oh, I don't want to learn more. Europe. For coordinate systems information, I'm going to pick Europe conformal conic, move it up here, and those 2 layers, I'm going to collect them in a new layer. So it's going to be easier for me to switch them on and off automatically when I'm also doing North America. Because that's the other one. I'm going to do North America. Again, boundary lines, land, countries, and I'm also going to include the state lines because the US and Canada is pretty big. Okay, and again, spatial filter. This is not meant to be an instruction video because I want to stay within the 10 minutes, so I'm going to go through a little bit quicker than what you're maybe normally used from me. So there we go. Okay. And okay, that's going to come up in a new map view. And let's collect them into a new layer as well while we're at it. And now we're going to change that map view. And we are going to pick North America, Lambert conformal conic. this ends up with. So the furthest south I've been is actually San Francisco. Well, furthest south I've been for the Who, which means I can quite safely crop this right there. And move it a little bit. Normally I'd clean this up a little bit, but if I want to stick with it 10 minutes, gotta do what you gotta do. So let's quickly style the whole thing. So the areas are all gonna get a bit of a pastel greenish color, maybe a little bit more subtle. There we go. And then the lines are all going to get white. And so they're 1 point thick at the moment. So the state lines, I'm going to make them a little bit less thick, just to give a little bit of distinction. So next step is to import the locations of my concerts. That's GeoJSON files, 2 separate ones. And put them on our network drive. So Europe first. And I'm going to add it to an existing map view, and add it to the Europe map view, of course. Here we go. Put it in the Europe layer group, and then the same thing for the North American shows. Existing map view, North America. Okay. So right now they're black dots. Can't have that. It's the Who, so we gotta have a mod target. So I'm going to change the symbol definition. And make it a little bit bigger to start with. So 3. The outer one is going to be blue. Oops, blue. Then I'll make the middle one white and copy it again and make this one red. And there we have it, our nice little mod target. Of course, we got to label them as well. Before we do that, I kind of want to clean up the whole thing a little bit. So, Europe, zoom in. That way. That's going to be good. And neatly crop it. Before I do that, yeah, thought so. Before I do that, make sure that I lock all of the layers that I don't want to crop. Skip lock layers. And then for North America, same thing. Leave a little bit of space in the middle. Oops. So, next step is labeling. All of those locations have a name attribute, which we can use to label the city. 8 minutes, so I've got to be quick. So I'm going to just quickly create a character style. Here we go. Let's make it a little bit bigger. I am going to select all of my Europe points and say label features, labels. The attribute is name. Target is Europe labels. The style is the one we've just created. This is fine. We don't want to curve at latitude right now. And then we do the same thing for the North American locations. North American labels. Attribute is name. Target is labels. Style is the one we've created. All right. So a little bit of text placement to make it look a little bit nicer. And finally, with 30 seconds to spare, there, that's it. So, after the dust has settled a little bit, that was surprisingly more difficult than I thought it was going to be. 10 minutes, if you have the data, should be enough, but if you want to make something nice out of it, maybe not. But that's the challenge, and that's actually what I like. So, yeah, as I mentioned, this was recorded a couple of days ago for the November 13th 30-day map challenge prompt 10-minute map. I've shared it on social media, and then obviously this video is coming out a few days later. The reason why I picked this particular subject, like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of The Who. I've traveled a lot to go see them, and I've got a lot of great memories from those trips. In some cases, I was able to combine my travel for The Who with work travel. So, for example, Avenza, and I'm using Avenza as my publisher for all of this. We're the Dutch partner. So Avenza is located in Toronto, and so quite often, if I would have an opportunity to go see The Who in North America, and Toronto was one of the cities they would go to, or in that case Hamilton, which is right next to Toronto, I would go there. The Seattle show was a pretty good one too, because it was literally the day after the 2019 NACES conference in Tacoma, which is like 45 minutes by car. So that was great too. Obviously, the shows in the Netherlands and Belgium were an easy drive for me to get there. Bonn and Berlin on 2 consecutive days were good as well. I've done several shows within a short amount of days within the UK, so Edinburgh and London. And yeah, I like to travel, and I like to travel to go see The Who.